If you're even remotely into monster collecting games, I need you to pay attention to LumenTale, Memories of Trey, because this game is basically a checklist of how you do it properly in 2026. And I'm saying that because at the exact same time, the biggest name in the genre is celebrating the classics in the most backwards way possible. Nintendo is bringing back the Kanto era again in 2026, the fire red and leaf green style Kanto adventure, and they're doing it with no online play, not included with their subscription library, and sold as standalone purchases. In other words, it's nostalgia that stays stuck in the past. So no, this isn't a Pokemon rant video, this is a video about a game that actually understands what players want now. Because LumenTale Memories of Trey feels like it was designed by people who looked at the monster collector genre and said, right, what parts do people actually love and what parts waste everyone's time? Let me explain what LumenTale is first, because the vibe matters. The game is set in the world of Talia, and you play as Trey, a character dealing with missing memories. You're thrown into this journey of self-discovery while exploring a beautiful, enchanted world. But it's not just go collect creatures, beat 8 bosses, roll credits. The story has real weight. Talia has been torn apart by a civil war, and there's a whole legend and mystery tone running through it. And the creatures in LumenTale aren't just random animals you stuff into a menu. They're called Anemon, and they're tied into this energy called Anavis, something connected to emotions and the soul. That sounds dramatic, but it matters because it sets the foundation for a monster collector that's trying to build a world and a theme, not just a brand. You catch them using a device called the Holocan, and from there it becomes that classic loop we all love: explore, battle, capture, build your team, and discover new species. But here's where LumenTale starts doing the right thing over and over, because it's not just copying the old formula, it's modernizing it. First, let's talk about the thing monster games still refuse to treat like it's normal in 2026: multiplayer. LumenTale isn't doing the if your friend isn't sat next to you unlucky approach. The game's own feature list leans into online interactivity, and it calls out battles that aren't just basic duels. You've got 1 versus 1 fights, and you can also do 4 versus 4 showdowns with your party. That's a huge difference in energy from the traditional format, because team battles instantly add strategy and hype. It's not just my one monster hits your one monster. It becomes planning, synergy, and proper mind games. And then there's trading, and this is one of the smartest moves they're making. Instead of treating trading like some annoying side feature, LumenTale makes it part of the ecosystem. They describe 3 different ways to trade. You can use the Anemon trade station to search for what you need, trade directly with friends, or trade with the wider community. And that is a big deal for collectors, because this is the part that always gets messy in monster games: version exclusives, missing evolutions, that one creature you just cannot find, and you end up begging strangers or scrolling forums like it's 2009. LumenTale is basically saying, no, here are multiple ways to trade. Complete your collection without it being a full-time job. That's the difference between selling nostalgia and respecting your time. Now let's talk about another modern feature that separates LumenTale from old school design systems outside of battling. Because if all your game has is walk, battle, catch, it gets stale. Even if the creatures are cool, LumenTale adds stuff that makes the world feel like a place you live in. There's a hub-style mechanic called the Anispace, basically a place where your captured Anemon exist when they're not in your active party. You can train them, customize their space, and build stronger bonds with them. That might sound like a cute extra, but it's massive for player attachment. It makes the creatures feel like partners with presence, not just stats you swap in and out. Then you've got the fountain, where you can craft items and cook food, and they even mention experimenting with ingredients to help nurture your Anemon. Again, that's modern design. It gives players more ways to interact than just grinding battles. It adds preparation, resource management, and that cozy camp vibe without turning it into some bloated survival sim. It's the kind of stuff people have been begging the big monster franchises to evolve into for years. Now let's get into the part that's going to hook a lot of players instantly: the boss fight energy. One of the biggest complaints with classic monster collecting games is that so many battles blend together. Trainer after trainer after trainer, same camera angle, same pacing. Even when the story says this is serious, the battle system doesn't always deliver that scale. LumenTale openly pushes the idea of big, exciting combat with boss battles as part of its identity, and that matters. because boss fights are where a monster collector can truly feel like an RPG. You're not just spamming your strongest move, you're adapting to mechanics, phases, team comps, weaknesses, and pressure. Boss fights are where you make the player feel like they've earned it. And when you combine boss encounters with team-based battle options like 4 versus 4, the potential gets really exciting. Because now your team isn't just 6 favorites, it's a squad with roles. Something tanky, something fast, something that counters a type, something that supports, something that hits like a truck. That's how you keep battles fresh for dozens of hours. Now here's another place LumenTale is doing the right thing. The scale of the collection and the way it's categorized. They describe around 140 known species and 13 elemental types, and even the types have extra flavor. They talk about attributes based on the emotions the Animon can evoke in people. That's world building baked into the monster design, which is exactly what you want if you're aiming to stand out. And if you're the kind of player who loves team building, that's basically a playground. 13 types means you can build real counters and strategies without it turning into a tiny rock, paper, scissors loop. Now I want to bring it back to why this matters. LumenTale isn't just another Pokemon-like, it's a direct answer to the stuff people complain about whenever big companies drag a classic monster game back out. Because look at what's happening with Kanto nostalgia in 2026. Nintendo is keeping that classic Kanto style experience basically unchanged. And yes, the connectivity works, but it's local only with no online play. It's also not included with the subscription classics library, and it's being sold as separate software. So the message there is, here's the old thing, pay for the old thing, play it the old way, and if you love that, fine, genuinely enjoy it. But if you grew up with monster collecting games, and you're tired of the biggest companies acting like online features are optional, LumenTale is the opposite energy. LumenTale is saying, we're taking what you love, collecting, battling, trading, exploration, and we're building it for how people live now. Friends aren't all in the same room anymore. People want community trading. People want battles that scale up, not just 1 versus 1 forever. People want boss fights that feel like events. People want extra RPG systems like crafting, cooking, and creature hubs that make the world feel alive. And people want a game that respects their time instead of padding everything out. So here's my take. If you're sick of the genre's biggest names doing the bare minimum with the classics, LumenTale Memories of Trey is one of the most promising examples of what the genre should be doing in 2026. Modern multiplayer direction, real trading systems, team battles like 4 versus 4, world building that matters, extra systems like crafting and cooking, a creature hub space where your collection feels alive, and boss fights that can give you those, oh crap, this is serious moments. So I want to know what you think. Does LumenTale look like the kind of monster collector you've been waiting for? And do you agree that in 2026, releasing classic Kanto-style games with no online play is the wrong move? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more videos covering monster collectors that are actually pushing the genre forward, hit like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.